Story 1. Entitled Mom Tries to Force Me to Sell My Property to Pay for Her Daughter's College and Does This When I Refused. I am a property owner, 34M, with a string of houses in my name in our hometown. This has been due to years of hard work, careful investments, and sacrifices made along the way. Just to give context, I come from a modest family. My parents were both blue-collar workers and labored tirelessly to provide a comfortable life for me and my siblings. They always dreamed of owning their own house one day, but it was beyond their reach. It was their upbringing that ignited my ambition and fueled my determination to build a better life for myself and my family. One day, I met my wife during our college years. My wife shared similar experiences in her family, raised by a single mother who worked multiple jobs to make ends meet. She learned the significance of financial prudence and resourcefulness. We both wanted to overcome financial struggles one day and create a stable life for our children in the future. My wife and I tirelessly bought and flipped houses over the years. We saved every penny and made careful investments that eventually led to our ownership of several properties. Each property represented years of hard work, countless sacrifices, and a shared dream between us. Today, I am a father to two wonderful kids, a son and a daughter. Our properties are not just a source of income but a symbol of our dedication to securing a future for our children. Little did I know that my life would soon take an unexpected twist, thanks to an entitled woman named Emily, 40F, who has been one of my tenants for a few years. She resides in a comfortable 3-bedroom house that I carefully saved up and purchased years ago before I got married to my wife. The property is located in a prime location in the city and is in close proximity to her daughter's high school. Emily was a single mother as her husband had unexpectedly abandoned her after their daughter was born. When I became aware of her circumstances, I offered her a subsidized rent to enable her to move in, though I knew I would lose out on money. I wanted her and her daughter to be able to afford to live there. Over the years, I have never increased the rent, and it has remained the same. Emily had been a reliable tenant over the years and paid her rent on time. We had developed a casual landlord-tenant relationship over time and sometimes kept in touch when she needed my help around the house. Her daughter, Lily, was a high school senior and was preparing to apply for college. 3 months ago, Emily informed me that her daughter had been accepted into a prestigious out-of-state university, which was a remarkable achievement for any high school graduate. However, this university was also very expensive, and unfortunately, her scholarship didn't even cover 10% of her fees. I knew the financial obstacles of higher education and had my reservations about how they would manage it. One day, Emily asked to meet me, thinking that it had something to do with the renovation required around the house. I agreed without much hesitation. We sat down in the living room of the house, where she started by saying that she really appreciated the fact that I had been generous with her when it came to rent. She continued to tell me that she really wanted her daughter Lily to attend her dream university, but after crunching the numbers, including tuition, housing, and other expenses, she realized that it was too much for her to handle alone. She had even reached out to financial aid, looked into scholarships, and had taken up a part-time job after her full-time one, but it was still not enough. I nodded my head solemnly in understanding, thinking maybe she was going to ask me if she could delay paying the rent for the month, which would have been understandable. Instead, Emily had a staggering request for me that left me dumbfounded. She asked me if I could sell the property that she was living in. I looked at her inquisitively as she continued to explain that the property I owned and had rented out to her would fetch good money, which would help her fund her daughter's college education. "Are you serious?" I responded, a mix of astonishment and disbelief. "You want me to sell my property to pay for your daughter's college tuition?" Emily's eyes pleaded with me as she insisted that it was her only hope to secure her daughter's future. She mentioned that she had already had the entire property appraised and was confident that it could cover her daughter's entire college fees. I asked her if she had lost her mind because there was no way that I was going to sell my property for her daughter to go to a high-end university. I told her that this house meant something to me, and I wasn't going to sell my property just like that. Emily insisted again, telling me that I could loan the money, and her daughter would pay me back once she graduated. Although I knew the importance of a college education, I was not going to accept her outrageous request. Hearing her plead made it clear that she was determined to find a way to fund her daughter's dreams, even if it meant making an outlandish proposition to a stranger. I calmly explained to Emily that the property was a significant part of my livelihood, and I couldn't simply part with it. The burden of her daughter's tuition shouldn't fall on my shoulders. I told her that if she couldn't afford to send her daughter to the university, she could ask her family members for help or look into finding a more affordable option for her daughter. Despite my efforts to make her see reason, Emily continued to press the issue, asserting that I was the only one who could help and that it wasn't a big deal to sell my property and give her the money. I realized that this was going nowhere. I left the property after asking Emily to not approach me regarding this ever again. I requested her to realize how outrageous she sounded and that she should find another way. I thought she would realize her mistake eventually, but over the next few weeks, Emily didn't give up. As Emily's daughter was inching closer to her college journey, the situation was becoming increasingly more and more unbearable. Emily, despite my denial, kept pleading with me every day to sell my property as soon as I could and even stopped paying her rent in protest. Our once amicable relationship had soured, and the tension between us grew as Emily remained steadfast in her belief that the property I own was the solution to her financial woes. She was convinced that my refusal was selfish and that it was putting her daughter's future in jeopardy. On the other hand, I was losing out on money when she refused to pay her rent in protest. I warned her that I would take this to court because we had an ironclad agreement, but she refused to comply, and it became increasingly clear that her demands had no end. The turning point came when Emily started involving others in our dispute. She started to approach her friends and the neighbors around my property, painting me as an unsympathetic landlord who refused to help a young girl realize her dreams. She told them that I was very wealthy but refused to help her out by loaning her the money, given her status as a single mother who struggled to make ends meet. Her story garnered sympathy from those she confided in to amplify her cause. Emily took to social media and wrote a Facebook post, placing the blame for her daughter's inability to attend college squarely on my shoulders. Soon, the rumors started to circulate in our neighborhood. People sympathized with her plight and assumed that I was indeed in a position to help but was knowingly not helping. I couldn't help but feel like an outsider in my own community. My wife finally decided to reach out to Emily to address the escalating conflict, with the tension in the neighborhood mounting. She felt that direct communication might be a path toward resolution. Emily, however, wasn't in the mood for a calm discussion. She immediately launched into a tirade about how I, as the landlord, had the means to sell the property, which she believed was the only way to secure her daughter's future. Despite my wife's earnest attempts to reason, Emily's conviction remained unshaken. She asserted that we had the means to fund her daughter's college education and that we were being selfish. The conversation continued in a repetitive loop, with Emily repeatedly pushing my wife to convince me to agree to her demands. Her post, which had painted me as an unsympathetic and wealthy landlord who was refusing to help a young girl achieve her dreams, had a noticeable impact on the neighbors and the local community. Some neighbors who had previously been on friendly terms with us started to view us with skepticism. They began to believe that I indeed had the means to alleviate her daughter's financial burdens, but that I was knowingly refusing to do so out of selfishness. Others who were aware of my upbringing, hard work, and the reality of my situation shared my perspective and were just as appalled by Emily's audacious demand for me to foot the bill. They reminded me that I needed to protect my property and maintain the hard-earned legacy I had built. The community became more and more divided every day, with some sympathy being directed toward Emily despite the mounting pressure. I stood my ground, resolute in my decision to protect my property. I had invested years of hard work and sacrifice to secure it, and it was not something I was going to part with simply. Meanwhile, Emily continued to fuel the flames, accusing me of lacking empathy and exploiting living in my property. Her social media posts became increasingly vocal, sharing stories of her daughter's determination and the countless sacrifices she had made to prepare for college. As a result, the debate escalated from a private disagreement to a public discourse. The weight of the allegations started affecting my family as well. My kids began to experience bullying at school, with their classmates parroting the false claims they had heard from social media about me. It was heartbreaking to witness the distress this situation caused them. It was then that I decided that it was time to take action. I had kept quiet, thinking that Emily would eventually stop, but now that my children were being affected, it was time to set the record straight and defend my integrity. I reached out to a lawyer who specialized in property disputes and tenant-landlord conflicts. We immediately drafted a cease and desist letter to put an end to Emily's defamatory actions and protect my standing within the community. My lawyer informed me that the cease and desist letter was the first step in our legal battle and that if Emily didn't back down, we would take it all the way to court. When Emily received the letter, she was understandably surprised. She attempted to reach out to me by phone, but I chose not to answer her calls, so she sent me a text message expressing her desire to talk to me and clear this out before things could go too far. She told me that this was all just a huge misunderstanding and that she and I could talk this out. I replied back, stating my intention to take her to court. I told her to brace herself and enjoy it because she was going to regret ever trying to mess with me. I know this is going to be an uphill fight because this woman has been relentless in insisting that I should pay her daughter's tuition and ruining our family reputation both in the community and online. My lawyer is currently preparing for the case in case it goes to trial when she doesn't back down, outlining all the false accusations and the harm she has caused us in the last few months. When some of my relatives found out that I was taking her to court, they suggested that I should give her a chance to sort out the issue since she is a single mother and is trying to do what is best for her child. So, Reddit, am I the whole for refusing to sell my property to pay the entitled mother her daughter's college fees and instead dragging her to court? Date 1. Emily has responded to our legal action with a letter of her own, filled with threats and more defamation. She has accused me of charging a high rent despite knowing her financial situation, which, according to her, made it impossible for her to save up for her daughter's education. I can't believe how far she is going to stoop down and lie just to get what she wants. Her accusations are baseless, and it is frustrating to see her play the victim card when I had already provided her with subsidized rent. It is clear she is trying to manipulate the situation in her favor, and I am not about to let that happen. It is clear that Emily is not going to back down without a fight. My lawyer, Matthew, has assured me that we have a strong case as her accusations are baseless, but he has asked me to be prepared as the legal process is going to be long and draining. I can't help but think about how this situation has escalated so quickly. It was never my intention to end up in a courtroom, especially with someone who had been a tenant on my property, but sometimes you have to stand your ground and protect what's rightfully yours. Emily might have her reasons, but I can't allow her to pressure me into selling my property. My family's future is at stake, and I am determined to see this through no matter how challenging it would be. I will update you next when the legal proceedings begin. Update 2. Since my last update, the legal proceedings have officially begun. The anticipation leading up to the court date had been excruciating. In the courtroom, the tension was charged as both parties presented their arguments and evidence. Emily, flanked by her attorney, portrayed herself as a struggling mother determined to secure her daughter's future. Her attorney painted a vivid picture of financial hardships, emphasizing how my property had been the last lifeline for her daughter's dreams of attending the prestigious out-of-state university. Emily's testimony was laced with emotion, her eyes welling up with tears as she described the sacrifices she had made as a single mother, the long hours she worked, and her unwavering commitment to her daughter's success. She talked about her relentless job searches and numerous applications for scholarships and financial aid, painting herself as a mother who had left no stone unturned. Throughout the proceedings, Emily's attorney relentlessly painted me as a wealthy, unsympathetic landlord who prioritized profits over a young girl's dreams by charging her with high rent. They implied that I had been aware of Emily's financial struggles yet continued to exploit her situation. But the most astonishing twist in the story came when Emily introduced a witness who was a family friend. We were shocked when this friend claimed to have witnessed a conversation between Emily and me, where I allegedly promised to sell the property to finance her daughter's college education. I sat in disbelief as this blatant falsehood was presented in the courtroom. My attorney, Matthew, vehemently challenged this claim, asserting that no such conversation had ever taken place. He decided to take a more methodical approach to disprove this witness's claim. First, My attorney carefully cross-examined the family friend who had testified about the alleged conversation between me and Emily. He posed a series of detailed questions aimed at establishing the credibility of the witness's memory, asking about the date, time, and location of the supposed conversation. In response, the family friend struggled to provide consistent details and could not produce any concrete evidence, such as text messages or emails, to support their claim. Their testimony became increasingly shaky under the scrutiny of the cross-examination. To further undermine the credibility of Emily's case, Matthew presented evidence that directly contradicted the claim by introducing records of text messages and emails exchanged between Emily and me during the time period when the alleged promise was said to have been made. These messages clearly showed that the subject of selling the property to fund her daughter's education had never been discussed, and Emily was the only one who was forcing me to sell my property to loan her the money. Additionally, we had a neighbor who lived adjacent to Emily's property testify that Emily had been paying less rent than all the other renters in the area. My lawyer pulled up receipts from other tenants residing in the neighborhood to prove the same. Matthew went on to argue that the absence of any written or electronic communication regarding the supposed promise that Emily claims, coupled with the neighbor's testimony, cast doubt on the family friend's account and cannot be held as concrete evidence. We then focused on proving that Emily had intentionally gone to great lengths to slander my reputation on social media, which in turn had resulted in the bullying of my children. My attorney presented a comprehensive record of Emily's social media posts and messages where she had accused me of being an unsympathetic and heartless landlord who refused to support her daughter's dreams. These posts were filled with emotional appeals and outright falsehoods designed to gain sympathy and support from the community. We highlighted that these posts were intentionally crafted to create a narrative that painted her as a struggling mother doing everything in her power to secure her daughter's future when, in reality, she was emotionally blackmailing me to sell my property. Matthew then introduced screenshots of social media comments and direct messages from individuals who had engaged with Emily's posts. Some of these individuals were part of the local community and had formed a negative opinion of me based on the false information presented by Emily. These comments ranged from expressions of sympathy for her plight to outright accusations that I was an unfeeling landlord exploiting her situation. In addition to the social media evidence, we presented witness testimonies from my children, who had experienced bullying at their school due to Emily's social media posts. They described how their classmates had echoed the false claims they had read on social media about their father, leading to name-calling and harassment. My attorney went on to argue that there was a direct connection between Emily's false accusations on social media and the bullying my children had endured. The intentionally misleading narrative she had crafted had not only damaged my reputation, but it also directly affected my family's well-being. This presentation of evidence effectively showed how Emily's actions on social media led to real-life consequences for my children. As the legal proceedings continue, I am confident that justice will be served. The evidence presented so far has shed light on the truth and exposed the false claims made against me. I believe that the court will see through the manipulation and ensure a fair outcome in this case. Update 3. We won. The past month has been a grueling experience due to the legal proceedings. It has been like a roller coaster ride with unexpected twists and turns. My lawyer continued to present evidence and testimonies which made it increasingly clear that Emily's claims were baseless. Her attempt to manipulate the situation by introducing a family friend who falsely testified about a promise I had never made fell apart under scrutiny. The lack of concrete evidence and inconsistencies in the witness's account cast doubt on the validity of their claims. After a thorough examination of all the evidence and testimonies, the judge finally announced the verdict and ruled in my favor. This came as a huge relief to me, and I was grateful that the judge had seen through all the baseless claims. Emily was found guilty of defamation and was ordered to pay damages for the harm she had caused to my reputation, starting with paying the rent for the previous months and additional fines. A restraining order was also issued by the judge, preventing Emily from making any further defamatory statements about me or my family. This ruling successfully validated my actions and my right to protect my property. As the legal battle concluded, I watched Emily sitting beside her lawyer, looking defeated. I turned to look at her daughter Lily and couldn't shake off the thought that her dreams had been compromised by her mother's sense of entitlement. This nightmare was finally coming to an end with justice being served. It was a lesson for everyone on the importance of defending oneself and not letting someone else's audacious demands shake our core beliefs. I can now move forward with a renewed sense of self-assurance and the knowledge that my house and our livelihood are secure. I would like to thank everyone who has supported me in this journey so far. The mental pressure and struggles my family and I went through were immense, but ultimately, truth prevailed. Update 4. It has been 6 months since my last update. Following my courtroom victory, the restraining order has effectively silenced Emily, and the damages she had to pay for defamation provided some level of consolation for the harm done to my reputation. Emily and her daughter had to move out after I gave them the eviction notice. While their circumstances remained challenging, I knew they were no longer my responsibility. I did feel a twinge of sympathy for her daughter's lost educational opportunities, but the reality was that her mother's audacious request had put their family in a difficult situation. Emily was also forced to take down her defamatory social media posts as part of the court's ruling, and everyone quickly found out the extent of her lies. The last I heard about them was when her daughter, Lily, reached out to me with an apology out of nowhere. Lily had always been a great kid, and I had watched her grow up, but when her mother started falsely alleging me, I cut off contact with them. I was surprised that she wanted to get in touch with me after her mother publicly lost the case. Her message was filled with genuine remorse for the way her mother had behaved and the consequences that had befallen her family as a result. She expressed gratitude for our patience and understanding during the ordeal, recognizing that her mother's actions had caused harm to both our families. She also shared that they had relocated to a more affordable area and that she had decided to attend a local college to pursue her education. She informed me that she had spoken with her mother after the legal proceedings had ended and had asked her to back off, stating that she was determined to secure her own future without making any audacious demands. I felt sympathy for what she had to go through at such an early age because of her entitled mother's false claims. I told her that everyone deserves a second chance and that it was admirable that she was taking control of her own destiny. I wished her the best of luck with her studies and assured her that the past was behind us. Now that Emily and her daughter no longer live on my property, our life has settled into a new normal. The weight of the false accusations and the bullying our children faced earlier has been lifted. We took action by reaching out to our children's school and addressing the bullying they had gone through. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Before we start, if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Now let's continue. My golden brother threw a massive effort. Just because he was mad I bought a house. Yeah, I'm aware of several similar stories involving entitled family members wanting houses they have no claim to, but I guess this really happens and it's no picnic when it does. I suddenly became a homeowner some time ago because a friend of mine's grandfather was moving to Florida and his house was right for the picking. I knew the old man well, R.I.P. He passed a few months later from a sudden stroke. Anyway, he offered the house and property to me for $200,000. I practically ran to the bank to apply for the loan. The house is a manufactured home from the 80s, but it was remodeled repeatedly by the former owner and has a separate garage building. The home and property could have gone for more, but he offered the house to me because he knew I'd take care of it. I had $30,000 saved. That made a good down payment, and I was happy to leave my apartment. I'd wanted to eventually move out of there after what my cheating ex did. Anyway, but that's a story for another time. As for my brother, well, he went bonkers when he found out I bought a house. He had this repeated history of copycatting me for the past decade, but there was no way in hell he could copycat buying a house with his terrible credit and inconsistent income. And he got in an argument with me over how I was just trying to make him look bad by doing something he couldn't. No, I just wanted a damn house, and the price was too good to refuse. Then he told me I should have turned it down because he had no good reason. I could practically see his screws getting looser with every dumbass excuse he made as to why I shouldn't have done it, but I pointed out all those excuses were just because I did something he currently can't, and when I bought the house it had nothing to do with him. I just wanted to be a homeowner for the security and extra space. I finally don't have to store my camper at my parents' house, and I have a garage that I can store stuff and tinker in. I bought a camping cot, he bought a camping cot. Went to the gym, he went to the gym. Bought good booze, he bought good booze or stole it from me. I bought a new TV, he bought a new TV. I bought a truck, he bought a truck. I bought a camper, he bought a camper. I bought a used portable DVD player, he bought a used portable DVD player. I went camping in a specific place, he went camping in that specific place. I bought a house, he. For 1004 error, insert tea kettle noises and Benny Hill chase. He also acted like a complete child toward me when he built his mini Ram thing. He actually confronted me and said it was cooler than my boring Tundra because it was something original. I swear he did the dumbest mods to that vehicle, like putting twist studs in the suspension coils to raise the ride height. Well, after weeks of openly fuming about me being a homeowner, my brother suddenly acted like he had another brilliant idea. He wanted to move in with me. I laughed at him. Then he ended up demanding I rent one of my rooms to him, and for only $200 a month, utilities included, because he shouldn't have to pay any more than that since we're family. He flipped his lid when I said no. Then he got our parents involved again, only this time they actually sided with him at first, though it was mainly our mother. She and my brother showed up demanding I let my brother move in, and my brother had a gleeful grin on his face that I could tell he was thinking he was getting his way thanks to Mommy Dearest. I said no to both their faces, and my mother cried that I was using foul language to her and being an ass when I had the space. Now I called my dad, and he told my mom that he'd warned her I wouldn't do it and to leave me the hell alone. Mom whined my brother was living out of his camper next to a shabby house he was renting space from. I said that wasn't my problem to fix, and my brother has proven countless times that he cannot be trusted. My brother was fuming to the point of being red with veins popping out. My mom tried one more time to convince me with tears, and that just made me angrier. I went on a rant that was something like this. Bro can't buy a house, so he wanted to invade mine. I refused to ever live with my brother again. I would sooner live in the woods without electricity than with him. He's intentionally irritating as all hell, and if I had him as a roommate, I just knew he'd steal my booze, take my stuff, and invade my privacy nonstop. Not happening, no matter how many tears Mom tries using on me. My mom broke down and finally conceded she'd never convince me after that rant, and she had to take my brother by the hand and leave with him because he initially refused to go and kept begging her to turn back and make me let him move in. And then I yelled to him that it was a laugh that he called me a mama's boy before because he'd become exactly that, and this was just like the time he tried to get our mother to make me trade vehicles with him because he felt ashamed to be driving a minivan he yanked away from Mom. Then he told me to go myself and the horse I rode in on. I laughed and pointed out I didn't ride in on anything because I was already home, but his rattlekin horse was waiting for him in the driveway. He flipped his lid again and looked like his head was going to explode, but Mom got in front of him and told him to just go. Then he drove off in his rattlekin Silverado without her. He'd driven her there, and then I had to take her home. While taking her home, I made things very clear with my mother over why I could never trust my brother again, and his life was not my burden to bear. And then told her how little my brother was offering for rent, anyway, which he'd conveniently not told her. Then I later rented that same room to one of my best friends for $600 a month, and he pays for utilities. The other 2 rooms are my bedroom and a home office. There's an extra room in the separate garage too, so my mother tried to make me let my brother live in the garage instead. There's enough room in its storage room for a bedroom. Again, I said no, and that's since been turned into another friend's rented room with a bit of a plywood remodel. Yeah, I kind of rented both the spare bedroom and garage room out to friends out of spite, but I wasn't letting my brother live with me in any capacity. My brother later ended up having a complete meltdown in front of our parents over how he's the older brother. He should be the one who owns a house first. He's supposed to be successful, and I'm supposed to be the big loser in his shadow. Our dad poked him with his cane and told him that's not how life works, and they had a big argument. They told him to get out and not come back until he's cooled off and learned that he's just being pointlessly jealous. The next part 1 post. My brother did the dumbest thing of all. Edit. I came home late to over 600 comments and still more pouring in. Far too many for me to answer, so I'll clear some things up here. Yes, I am no contact with my brother, and he's NC with the rest of the family as well. I do have cameras inside and outside my home and a dash cam too. My brother knows this and has stayed the hell away since he left town. I'm told I'm an ass. Not arguing that because it's true. I'm not exactly the nicest guy, but have someone like my brother in your life and see how peachy you turn out. Some have mentioned to having siblings just like my brother. Sadly, I know very well people like him are increasingly common these days. My dad said a number of times that my brother probably would have ended up dead in an alley if he lived here 50 years ago with the way he behaves. As for our ages, I'm 30, and my brother is 32. I have not given my parents a spare key to my house. One is with a friend, and another is very cleverly hidden. My house is a manufactured home, but it's not in a trailer park and has been significantly modified with new siding and a new roof and has a separate garage building. The previous owner was a former general contractor, and he loved to build and repair. And yes, I do have good insurance. I keep seeing comments about a clock radio. Pardon me for not getting the reference, but I do own a digital alarm clock that has a built-in CD player. Currently plays Tina Turner's Proud Mary to wake me up. My brother and I were raised pretty evenly. He was always a jerk but went full-on after moving out, but our mother didn't favor him. She chewed him out plenty, and she didn't normally side with his stupidity. She just wanted him to live in a better place than in a camper next to a house filled with potheads. Addition, my brother willingly moved into that camper. He was renting half a room in that house of potheads, then convinced the landlord to let him live in his camper on the property for the same price instead, and he bragged about his camper a lot, which he has a full gaming center in, complete with PlayStation. He only wanted to invade my house to piss me off and make his cost of living even lower. He also doesn't like camping nearly as much as me. He mainly liked just pissing me off by following me. He loved to make me miserable. In fact, he felt entitled to make me miserable. That's the kind of person he is. Do I have a restraining order against my brother? Not really. Just didn't bother because even if I did, it would only be for like a year, and my brother wouldn't let something like that stop him if he was truly determined. Now on to the next story. Story 3. I had a baby as a result of an affair, and now his wife is reaching out to me. I, F26, had an affair with a married man, M42, a few years ago. I had no clue he was married when we first met and hooked up. I obviously looked him up on social media, and while he did have photos of his kids on there was absolutely no mention or photos of a wife at all. I found out that he was married about a month after we first got together, but he told me it was just a marriage on paper and that they basically lived separate lives and agreed to remain married for practical purposes until the kids were older. They owned a business which she really ran, and he was just financially involved in. I knew at the time that I probably shouldn't believe him, but I convinced myself it was true. I was in my early 20s and so attracted to him, and I got pregnant about a year into seeing him. I had always been so careful with preventing pregnancy, but during my relationship with him, I took stupid risks. I was so high in lust with this guy, it's embarrassing the things he'd asked me to do. I'd say yes to almost anything, even when I knew it was a bad idea. I was in love with him, or I thought I was. I hadn't intentionally wanted to get pregnant. I would, of course, dream about being his wife and having a family, but I knew that wouldn't be a possibility while he had this arrangement with his actual wife. I didn't get pregnant on purpose with any intention of him leaving her for me, even if I wished that we could be a real, normal couple. I was surprised by how excited I was to be pregnant with his baby. I wanted that baby. Once I found out I was pregnant, the thought of carrying this baby of the man I loved was so special to me, but I knew he probably wouldn't feel the same. I told him I was pregnant, and he told me I couldn't keep the baby. I expected his reaction, but I was devastated, and it hurt me to my core that he didn't feel the same way I did. He offered to pay to make a whole weekend of it somewhere exciting, WTF, and to buy me something special if I just please get rid of the baby. He explained that he didn't want any more kids, and that he couldn't openly be a father to another kid when he and his wife were still pretending to be happily married to the outside world. I agreed to do what he wanted, and we made plans for him to pick me up and find somewhere out of town to go get it done. I was all packed the night he was going to pick me up, but I started to feel really scared and really unsafe about the whole thing. I took my bag and checked myself into a hotel to hide because I couldn't go with him. I texted him to say I promised to never contact him again and to never name him as the father or go after child support if he'd promised to leave me alone. At first, he tried to sweet-talk me into doing what he wanted. When I didn't cave in, he said some very nasty things to me and that I essentially better never contact him again or show up at his door. I have a 2-year-old now. At times, it's been difficult, but overall, we are thriving as best we can. I've kept my word about not naming him as the father or requesting child support. His wife contacted me on social media. Well, she's his ex-wife now. She wants to talk to me. She found out about me and told me that she divorced him 6 months ago. She wants her children to know their sibling and for my child to know his siblings. That's weird to me. I haven't responded back to her yet. I'm unsure about how to approach this. How do I respond to this? I wonder if I'm being selfish by not exploring an option for my child to know his siblings. If she's being genuine about that. If I was married and my husband fathered a child outside of our marriage, I don't think I'd feel the same that she does. Update 1. I made a post 3 weeks ago, and things have only gotten stranger. I had an affair with a married man a few years ago. I regret it, and I will never do anything like that ever again. I knew it was wrong from the very beginning, but he captivated me. I was naive. I allowed myself to believe when he told me they were pretty much just married on paper for the sake of their kids. I got pregnant, and while he tried to talk me into getting an abortion, I ultimately decided to keep the baby. I have a 2-year-old little boy now. I promised this man that I wouldn't expose our affair and I wouldn't formally identify him as the father or request child support. I did that because he was becoming very nasty about the whole thing, and I felt like due to the mess that I had created and the way I felt by the end of it, a clean break with no involvement with him would be the best thing for everyone. I moved back to where my family is, hundreds of miles from where he and his family live, about a month ago. His ex-wife reached out to me via social media, claiming they had been divorced for 6 months and that she wanted our children to be able to know each other. Now, their kids are teenagers, so I didn't really think they'd want anything to do with the toddler and the woman their father was having an affair with. Seemed odd to me. After posting here, I sort of decided that I wouldn't respond to her. I just ignored it. She just sent me the one message, so it wasn't as if she was badgering me about talking to me or meeting me. On Friday night, I decided to message her. I don't really know why. I think it was really just for my sake, so I could have the chance to apologize, to unleash her fury on me, or what. I mean, I deserve that. She wouldn't be wrong to feel that way. It was really her. She told me she discovered our affair when she found communications between the two of us after our relationship had ended. She told me I'm one of many women he had affairs with over the years, and she knew about somebody even before he met me, but she didn't divorce him at the time. Finding out about my child was the final straw for her. I told her I was sorry for my relationship with her husband and admitted that I knew he was married. She graciously told me she forgives me and that while she harbored a lot of anger towards me initially, she ultimately blames her husband. I'm not blameless, but she chooses to not hate me. Essentially, she said she couldn't have said this 6 months ago or a year ago when she first found out about me, but she has moved past that. She still has anger toward him in addition to many other emotions surrounding him. She started pouring out her heart to me about their 20-plus year marriage and life together, and it was very awkward because what do I even say? Her kids know about me and my son. She says they're very mad at their father. Somehow, I don't think they're mad about the fact that he's not involved with my son's life, and why would they be mad about that? I would hate me if I were them. I told her with my son being so little right now, I don't really feel comfortable with him meeting her kids or being involved with their family. I feel unsure about it, and it's just not something I feel needs to happen right now. Then she told me her ex-husband was in a bad accident 2 months ago. He's fine now, still not allowed to return to all his normal activities just yet, but will be fine. He is probably the most physically active person I've ever met. Barely ever seems to sit down, so he must be terribly annoying to be around if he's not allowed to go all the time. She told me he wants to meet my son. Apparently, she moved back in with him temporarily when he first came home from the hospital. She said the accident really shook him up, and he has been expressing a lot of regret about my son not being involved, not providing for him. So now it's like, was everything she said just a lie, and he somehow got her to reach out to me on his behalf and she actually did it? It felt almost like a relief talking to her initially, but then it's like, was any of that true, or you were just trying to be his messenger? I don't even know if that part is true now. Why wouldn't he just contact me himself? I'm just feeling so uneasy about the whole thing now. Update 2. I posted about this a few months ago. To summarize very quickly, when I was fresh out of college, I had an affair with a married man, and I became pregnant. He wanted me to get an abortion. He had arranged to take me away on a vacation to get an abortion. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I agreed to go along with what he wanted. At the last minute, when he was on his way to come pick me up, I told him I couldn't go through with the abortion. I just really didn't feel comfortable about his plan and how he was orchestrating everything. It scared me. I realized at that time how deep I had gone with this mistake, how screwed up the whole relationship was. He was really mad. He threatened me, said a lot of nasty things to me. I told him if he just left me alone and let me have my baby, then I'd leave him alone and wouldn't name him as the father or seek child support. I moved back home. I was living in a different state when I met him. I kept my word, and I did not name him as the father or seek to establish paternity. I never sought child support. My child is now. A few months ago, his wife contacted me via social media. At first, she made it seem like she wanted my child to have the opportunity to know his siblings. It was sort of weird since the siblings are teenagers. She said she had divorced him 6 months prior. I agreed to talk to her virtually, not in person. I felt that I owed it to her to apologize for what I had done. I do feel bad about it, but at the end of the conversation, I told her that I didn't feel it was the appropriate time to connect my son with her kids. He's a toddler and they're teens. Plus, I had promised her husband to stay out of his life. That's when she told me that he was recently in a bad accident, and she had been helping to take care of him. Supposedly, he was going to be fine and was fairly recovered at that point, but she said he had expressed interest to meet our child, so she was basically his messenger. I've not been in contact with her since then. I deleted my social media. I don't know why, but the whole thing just really made me uncomfortable. Since I last posted here, then I received a handwritten letter from him. In it, he expressed how he wanted to get to know our son. He wants to be a father to our son. He wants to provide financially for him. He'd like us to come visit him. He asked me to sign a paternity affidavit. I refused to do so. I know he is my son's father, but I'm not going to make this that easy for him after the things he said to me and threatened me with. He at least has to work for this. At that point, my parents felt that we needed to meet with a lawyer. All communication from me has gone through a lawyer. I have never responded to him personally and directly. Now I have a court order for paternity. I have to present my son to have a specimen taken tomorrow. I already know what it's going to say. It's not that I don't want my son to have a dad in his life. It's just the whole situation is a mess. And he lives a few states away from me. I don't know what to do. I can't really do anything. He's doing things legally next. I'm sure he'll petition for some form of custody or visitation. He's not married anymore, supposedly, but he's a lot more established than I am. He has considerably more financial resources. I also know he has all sorts of connections where he lives. Luckily, they don't hold as much weight here in my state, but it's still so scary to me. I'm a bad mom. I brought my son into this world knowing it was a messy situation. I just got so comfortable with it just being the two of us, and now I don't want to give that up. Now on to the next story. Story 4. I broke up with my boyfriend on his birthday for horrible actions he did when he was a teenager. I, 26F at the time, had just started dating Thomas, 28M, and things seemed promising. Very sweet man, educated and quite smart, good looks. After 7 weeks of dating, he invited me and 2 of his childhood friends, let's call them Alex and Bart, for a long 29th birthday celebration weekend at his father's country house in a small French town. His father was going to be around as well, and I was very excited to meet everyone. Day 1, Friday, is fun. I am happy to get along well with Thomas's father, a smart and caring man. Day 2, Saturday, after a very nice day, we enjoy a party in the garden with the neighbors, including some friends of Thomas. After a few hours and lots of drinks, a group of people gather around a small campfire and start sharing childhood memories. This is where things go wrong. At first, of course, innocent and dumb stories as you would expect, but then Thomas and his friends started sharing really sick stuff. In particular, they told a story about how when they were 14 or 15 years old, they found it very amusing to bully, for almost 6 months, Arthur, a boy of their school who was very isolated and shy, making jokes, calling names, you name it. As if this was not enough, they created a fake girl profile on MSN Messenger, a computer platform to exchange live messages that we used in the 2000s, and spent effing months exchanging messages with him under the false girl identity, flirting and developing a false relationship with the poor boy. Some people were in the confidence at school, and it became a big and cruel joke behind Arthur's back. They used pictures of Bart's real cousin, and the boy truly thought he had some kind of online girlfriend to whom he even sent confessions and love messages. At some point, they got bored and scheduled a false rendezvous IRL, asking the boy to take a bus for 2 or 3 hours, wearing a t-shirt with Elmer the elephant based on a private joke. Obviously, there was no one waiting for him, and they did not know how long he waited over there by himself. If Arthur had not already understood what was going on, he found out the next day at school after Thomas and Bart told the story to everyone, and even shared the love messages that Arthur had been writing. The poor boy stopped coming to class and apparently changed schools, and it is easy to imagine that this must have been extremely traumatizing to him. Do you think that Thomas, Alex, and Bart had any bit of shame about it? Not a bit of remorse, in particular on Thomas and Bart's side. They kept making jokes about it and even seemed to regret that they were not good enough at being evil to convince the boy to send nudes or sexy pics. I don't even want to imagine what would have happened if he had done so. To say that I felt uncomfortable would be a gross understatement. I was absolutely horrified and started to despise Thomas more than anything. I was not the only one shocked. Thomas's father, who heard the end of the story, had the most disappointed look in his eyes. His stupid son was so drunk that he did not even notice it. I escaped the party immediately after that and got back to the house. I could not sleep at all this night, and I kept thinking about the evening and how Thomas was still finding this funny. I heard him coming to bed around 4 a.m., but I pretended I was asleep. Day 3, Sunday, was the actual birthday, and the initial plan was that I would take Thomas on a one-on-one fancy surprise date for lunch nearby, and then we would meet the group for a late afternoon party. But instead, I woke up very early on Sunday morning, took all my stuff in silence, and went alone to the train station where I took a direct train heading back to Paris. I decided to send a text to Thomas wishing him happy birthday and telling him to meet me at a certain location 1 hour from the house for a surprise and that I needed to go a little bit in advance to make sure that everything would be perfect. I had picked the location randomly using Google Maps to gain time. Thomas read the text around 10 a.m. when he woke up. He responded with excitement that he would follow religiously the instructions. When he arrived there at 12:30, I told him to wait further as there was a little delay on something. Then I asked him to meet me at a restaurant which was a 30-minute drive from the initial location. When he arrived at 1:15, I texted him that I was on my way, would arrive in 20 minutes, and that he will understand when he sees me why I made him wait. I also asked him to order some food and the most expensive bottle on the menu. Around 1:30, he started calling me several times and sent a lot of worried texts. After 45 minutes, I responded in French, "So how does it feel to have people play with your feelings?" Then I stopped responding. I let him call and text the entire afternoon but never responded. At some point, an unknown number called me. It was his friend Alex, asking what was going on and that Thomas's birthday was completely ruined because of what I did. I just responded, "This is an extremely small payback for what you did to Arthur. Tell Thomas to stop calling me," and hung up. I blocked them. I still felt bad the entire evening as I'd started to grow attached to Thomas back then. The following days, a common friend called me to say that my reaction was completely absurd and unfair, that it was not my role to punish someone for actions they did as a teenager, that they were adults now, ways of saying things, and that I had been completely crazy. Only a few people supported what I did. Everyone else seemed to think that I was a... Thomas tried to fix things and win me back for a few months afterwards. I never responded to any of his messages. I don't regret it. I simply hope that Arthur, who should be 35 or 36 years old now, is well. Edits. I really did not expect so many reactions and comments as expected. I see that not everyone approves what I did, but I am surprised to receive so many kind messages. Thank you. About Thomas's father, he was actually one of the few people understanding my actions. He called me shortly after the incident to discuss an unrelated topic. I was to give him a list of recommendations about something and was already aware of everything. He did not badmouth his son, but I could really feel that he was disappointed. He simply told me that he had not found sleep the night of Saturday to Sunday because of what he had heard during the party. He told me he appreciated meeting me and expressed regret that I was not with his son anymore, but also said that he understood my reasons. He did not try to convince me to get back with Thomas. This man was truly a gentleman. I don't know what became of Arthur. I don't even know his last name. I think that even if I had known his name, I would not have reached out to him by fear of making him remember things that he probably wants to forget. I hope he is a confident man and that he still likes Elmer the elephant. Now on to the next story. Story 5. My sister is making me walk down the aisle with her fiancé's creepy brother. I met my boyfriend in college 7 years ago, and we started dating 5 years ago. He is super close and loving with my family. He was there at my niece's births, baptisms, Christmas vacations, etc. We are extremely committed to each other for the long run but don't want to get married until we are financially stable and both our careers are where we want them to be. My sister has been with her fiancé for 2 years and engaged for 6 months. My sister is the type of girl who has dreamed of getting married since she was a little girl. It didn't matter who proposed. She just wanted to be married. I have never cared if I got married or not. As long as I have a good career and a happy relationship, I'm fine. In the beginning of her relationship, she tricked me into going on a double date with her fiancé and his brother. She had said it was dinner with her and a friend, and it was most definitely not. The brother kept making passes at me the whole time, and I told him I had a boyfriend and the whole situation made me uncomfortable. At their engagement party, my boyfriend noticed that the brother wouldn't stop staring at me, and we tried our best to avoid him. Every time I have seen this guy, he has been weird towards me. My sister wanted me, my twin, fraternal, and 2 brothers in her wedding. The wedding is supposed to be next month in the beginning of May. My sister just told me that I'm going to be walking down the aisle with her fiancé's brother. I told her that he makes me uncomfortable and I thought I would be walking with my own brother. Apparently, this is something her fiancé is insisting, and she wants to make him happy. Seems like a pretty weird thing to insist, and I know it's some scheme between the 2 brothers. My other siblings also thought it was weird and voiced their objections to our sister. She got upset and said this is her wedding and she'll do what she wants. I told my boyfriend this and he was upset for me. He's confident enough in himself that he knows this guy would never be competition, but he knows how uncomfortable I am with this situation. The other day we had family dinner at my mom's house. I took this as an opportunity to bring up the situation with my mother around. My sister got extremely upset and started crying, saying I was trying to ruin her marriage. I was so confused, as was everyone else, and tried to explain that he makes me and my boyfriend extremely uncomfortable. She then said that I can't bring my boyfriend to her wedding anymore, and if I do, then I'm no longer a bridesmaid. She gave no reason as to why I can't bring him, and my siblings were just as upset, considering they like my boyfriend a lot better than my sister's fiancé. I thought I would give her a few days to calm down and rethink, but she has not changed her mind. My 19-year-old brother's girlfriend is still invited to the wedding. My boyfriend is an incredible guy and has been nothing but kind and generous to my sister. His feelings are hurt, but he still wants me to go to the wedding. I think my sister is being an unreasonable a-hole, and I will be pretty pissed off at the wedding if my life partner is not there with me. Being her bridesmaid is something I can live without, so should I bring my boyfriend or go without him? Or should I demand that my boyfriend be allowed to come to her wedding and that she's being super unfair? I love my sister, but I don't understand why she's forcing some silly request by her creepy brother-in-law. I don't know what to do, and my family is no help either. Update 1. I posted a few days ago about my sister, F31, saying I, F25, can't be in her wedding if I bring my boyfriend, M26, of 5 years. That post has since been removed, but I will quickly summarize the situation because it has escalated. My sister's fiancé's brother has made several sexual advances at me in the past, and my sister has encouraged it. She tricked me into a double date. My relationship with my boyfriend is very serious, and we will get married sometime in the future. The brother has always made me uncomfortable, and I try to stay as far away from him as I can. My sister then decided that I was going to walk down the aisle with him instead of with my brother. That was the original plan, There's 4 of us siblings, 2 guys, 2 girls. I told her at family dinner I didn't want to do that. Some arguing was involved. She was crying. Then she said I can't bring my boyfriend to the wedding, and if I do, I am no longer a bridesmaid. Most of the comments said I shouldn't go to the wedding at all, but she is my sister and I don't want to miss her wedding. I went to my parents' house with my brothers and told them about everything that Bill has done that makes me super uncomfortable and how my sister is disrespecting my relationship. My dad was pretty pissed off about the date stunt that she pulled and is on my side. My mom, however, says that I need to try and resolve this with her, because if I am not part of the wedding party, people will talk. I honestly couldn't give a damn about what extended family has to say. My mom called a family meeting and told my sister and my twin to come to the house. My dad asked her why I was no longer walking with my brother, to which she responded saying that it's what her fiancé wants, and she just wants to make him happy. I pressed the issue, asking why is this such a big deal for me to walk with him and that he's super weird and I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to assault me. That really pissed her off. She started crying and yelling, saying a bunch of BS about how this is all she's ever wanted and we're trying to ruin her special day. Blah blah blah. I was tired of the arguing and just straight up said I'll go to the wedding as a guest. Then I'm leaving before the reception. My twin and younger brother took my side and said they don't want to be in the wedding party if I'm not. This made my sister lose her FNG mind. She was screaming now, calling me a bunch of names that I can't say on this sub. A-hole, bitch, cunt, whore, and also calling my boyfriend names. I decided to leave and let my parents calm her down. But before I could walk out, she ran at me and yanked my hair, still screaming. She wouldn't let go, so I yanked hers too, and she let go. She has extensions, and apparently I F'd them up and ripped some hair out. She tried to grab me again, so I punched her in the face. I didn't mean to hit her. It was just my instant reaction to someone coming at me. So now she has a black eye, a cut on her cheek, and missing some hair. She's absolutely livid because her bachelorette party is next week. My mom is mad at me, my dad is not. My sister is now saying that she's going to press charges against me. Can she actually do that? Or is she just trying to scare me? She's also pissed off because my other siblings won't be in the wedding. She told my mom if I apologize to her and agree to be in the wedding, she'll let me walk with my brother. I feel like that is BS, and she will still make me walk with Bill last minute. At this point, I feel like it's not worth the trouble, and I just don't want to go at all. My mom and dad want me to do what she asked because they're paying for the wedding and want all their kids there. My twin and younger brother said they'll do whatever I want to do, but I don't think I should be the reason they don't go. My boyfriend feels like he started all this drama when none of it is his fault. My sister believes I ruined her wedding. She ruined it herself, and I don't know what to do. So options are go to the wedding as a guest, be in the wedding, or not go at all. My parents will be upset if I don't go, and I really don't want any more tension, but she disrespected me and my relationship. As soon as this wedding is over, I'm going to limit my contact with her for a while. Final update. The first part of this is written before the wedding, and the second part will be after the wedding. First off, I want to say I didn't know this post had blown up like it did until a few days ago. When I first posted, it had only had about 30 comments, and now I've seen thousands and received lots of messages. I've also received some messages and read some comments about how I'm not responding to people or answering questions. I don't think I am required to answer anyone. I've heard tons of crazy theories and lots of people saying they hope my sister attacks me again, or I should get her arrested or scream rape at her wedding. While these are all interesting, this is unfortunately my real life and not a movie. I will try and clear up any questions in this post. Some people asked if race is an issue, and it's not. My family is French and Puerto Rican, my boyfriend is Italian, and my sister's fiancé is just white. There was also some confusion about my siblings. I am one of 5 kids. My twin is a girl. I guess that got misunderstood when I said 2 girls, 2 guys. I meant that besides my sister getting married, there were 4 of us walking down the aisle. I kept saying twin instead of sister, so she wouldn't get confused with the one getting married. My sister is the second oldest. Also, don't think money is an issue either. My family's not rich, just middle class. The reason her wedding is getting paid for and not mine is because she didn't go to college and I did. They paid for the majority of my tuition, and I don't want a big fancy wedding either. Some people also asked why they don't revoke their money from her for this behavior, but the wedding has already been paid for a while, so there's no getting their money back. My sister did have a black eye still at her bachelorette party and changed the venue to a darker place, and she wore lots of makeup. My twin brothers and me and BF went to the club that night instead and had a fabulous time and got trashed. I heard from her friend that she was telling everyone she got hit with a car door and not my fist. My sister has always been a bit unhinged. When she was in high school, her and my twin used to fight all the time. Every breakup my sister has ever had, she has broken down and shut down completely and felt her life is over. I've seen this since she was 12. I used to get in lots of arguments with my parents over them excusing her behavior, which ultimately made me decide to go to college across the country. During college, I rarely talked to her. When I came back home, she had matured, and our relationship has been good for a while. She still occasionally has huge meltdowns over small things like this wedding. I sent my future BIL a text asking why him and his brother are so obsessed with me, to which he didn't respond. Me and my dad went down to his place, and he said my sister was the one who kept telling him that I was interested and would leave my boyfriend. So I don't even know which one of them came up with this plan. My dad got mad and told him to leave me and my boyfriend the hell alone. I have told my sister to go to therapy for years, and she's refused. I tried to have my mom see if she can get her to go to family therapy with me, and she also refused but said she would talk with me and my mom. When her and her fiancé first started dating, she brought him to a work New Year's party, and he brought his brother and I also attended. This was her first boyfriend who had shown any interest in getting married one day. I guess the brother had said he found me very attractive, and my sister instantly jumped the gun on that. She told him that I was not in a serious relationship. I had been with my boyfriend for 3 years, and he had a strong chance with me and he's just my type. Wrong. So he's been under the impression that my boyfriend is just a placeholder, which is extremely not the case. He's just as delusional as my sister. This made no sense to me why she did this because my twin is single. We are fraternal, so we don't look the same and we're different heights with very different personalities, but she's still a very pretty girl and single. My sister has expressed some jealousy of my relationship over the years, so that could be a factor in her trying to break us up. She's always made comments about how she'll never have what I have with my boyfriend. About a month ago, right before her ultimatum, she found out she's pregnant. I didn't know. She thinks if she doesn't make this brother thing happen, then her fiancé will leave her, and being a single mom is more frightening for her than her family hating her. It's still early enough that she does have other options, but she's committed to this for some reason. This was an intense conversation and also talked about other things, so this was all I could get out of her before my patience ran out. I did kind of snap on her and said some things along the lines of, sorry you're so pathetic that you date any guy who looks at you and you still can't find a good relationship and I can. You will be divorced before Labor Day. Yes, it was a little mean, but I was very heated in the moment and wanted to say something worse. My boyfriend is very adamant about us going to the wedding despite all the shit my sister is putting him through. My boyfriend doesn't have close relationships with his siblings and has always loved being a part of this family. He wants me to maintain a relationship with mine so I don't regret it later. He's still hurt though that my sister has been going through these great lengths to get him out of the picture. I've tried to reassure him the best I can that everyone still loves him and I always will. We're going for the ceremony as guests and then leaving as soon as they say, I do. My 2 brothers and twin sister are walking together as a trio. We took wedding pictures together at a park so our parents could have something of all of us, and we looked good. They haven't decided yet if they're staying for the whole wedding, but they're going to feel it out. My older brother is staying the whole time so he can watch the brother and have some words with him. A lot of people said to have my boyfriend propose at her wedding, but I don't care enough to deliberately try and ruin her wedding. That will not make the situation better in the slightest, and I honestly don't ever want a public proposal, and I think that's super tacky. Me and my boyfriend have just been enjoying us enough not worrying about any of this BS. I'm not worried about my sister attacking me again, and if she does, I can easily kick her ass. She can't fight for shit, which is why I don't know why she effed around in the first place. Also, some people said isn't it incest if sisters date brothers, but it is not at all and I have cousins who are married to sisters. Not excusing the behavior, just saying that's not incest at all. After wedding. So the wedding, I showed up in my bridesmaid dress because I wasn't going to go and buy another one, and it's a very nice dress. Me and my boyfriend tried to go in as late as we could to limit the amount of family asking me why I'm not in the wedding. A few aunts and uncles asked, and I just said my sister lost her mind and to ask her. I tried to stay with some cousins who I told what happened and know how my sister is an occasional nut. The ones who knew that my boyfriend's invite was revoked were pissed, considering some of their plus ones were just dates. We sat in the front row where my sister, her husband, and the brother could see me with my very serious, handsome, amazing, loving boyfriend. He held my hand the whole time and made sure I was okay. This wedding just confirmed me not wanting a big wedding. We can have a party at most. It was only once that the brother was staring at me, and I quickly shut that down by kissing my boyfriend. As soon as they all walked back down the aisle, I said my goodbyes to the people that deserved it, and we left. We went to a bar and danced and had a good time. I'm glad I went to the wedding so I can say, I told you so, when this marriage ends in 6 months. I'm glad that delusional SOB saw me kissing the man I love because that will never be him. My twin had quite a few drinks at the wedding and was being very mouthy with my sister. I didn't ask her to say something, but she would have done that with or without booze. My younger brother told almost every family member that my sister went apes hit on me, and that's why I wasn't at the reception. My older brother did talk to the BIL, but I didn't ask many other questions, and this is just what they told me. I feel really bad for my sister, honestly. She baby-trapped herself with a subpar bottom feeder. That man has zero qualities that would make me jump through all these hoops. He has the personality of an Adidas sandal. I wish my sister had more self-respect and raised her standards. I don't know much about their relationship and if he's abusive. I would like to think that she at least has that much respect for herself to not put up with that. Maybe they're in love, maybe he's using her, who knows. This marriage may not last. But she's now attached to him for at least the next 18 years. While I sort of get her reasoning for not wanting to be a single mom, my brother is a single dad and doing just fine. I don't plan on talking to her for quite a while. I don't know how things turn out for them for not getting me with the brother. After crying, they still wouldn't give me clear answers, so I don't know how serious the husband actually is about his loser brother getting laid. Those brothers were either neglected or breastfed till they were teens. I was already going on vacation this summer with my boyfriend, but I might extend it now. Who knows, may even get married in France for shits and giggles. Anyway, thanks for all the support. Sorry that this ending wasn't as dramatic as you all wanted it to be. I'm not expecting an apology. I honestly don't care anymore and just want to move on with my life and be happy and not deal with any more psycho behavior. I'm just glad that I haven't received any messages from BIL or my mom and that I have a great man. We have reached the end. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and give us your thoughts about the stories in the comments section. Thank you and see you in the next video.